Sure. So my name is Afshin Safavi. I'm the co-founder and the chief scientific officer globally for BioAgilytix Labs. I've had an interesting career. I've been lucky enough to get to work with a lot of smart people, much smarter than me and more experienced, and learn from them. I've received my bachelor as well as graduate training in biochemistry and enzymology. From there, prior to founding BioAgilytix, I worked for various companies, including big pharma, small biotech, startups, instrument manufacturers, kit production companies, and the CRO. And throughout this process, I started thinking that there are better ways to provide CRO services. One that basically provides high quality science consistently, one that people like to come to work, a type of company that we can retain the employees and the clients long run, and bring a good level of scientific knowledge under one roof. So I think I've been very fortunate that after about 10 years, founding BioAgilytix, surrounding myself with so many good talent, that we are now in a position to expand and continue building on a culture that has made BioAgilytix very successful. So this is a very interesting question. I was lucky that I actually started sort of getting into science in the 80s, and that's when actually CROs start forming and evolving. You saw CROs being used as an extra set of hands usually in the 80s, 90s, and up to early 2000 or mid 2000. Most of the talent was pretty much in biotech and pharma, and pharma and biotech they were developing the assays, thinking about the best way to proceed with the drug development. And at some point, when they needed, again, those clinical trials to be run or the study to be done under regulated GLP environment, they would transfer to the CROs. What is interesting in around mid-2000, especially in 2008, a lot of the pharma and biotech start laying off some of the best talents. And what we saw this just a massive amount of talent coming out, looking for opportunities. At the same time, as you lay off some of your best talent, that work still needs to be done. So the decision was with a lot of the pharmas was to outsource more. So the best place for the new talent that was looking for a job was to go into the CROs. And so you saw a shift of talent, brain power, going from the pharma and biotech industry into the CROs. And to me, that's a transition that just fueled, along with the need for outsourcing, budget cuts, for the CROs to start really rapidly, absorbing some of this great talent, and the sort of what you see, the trend for outsourcing has continued from 2008 and it's continuing. So it has been, I would say, some big changes. Today, I can tell you from a talent perspective, you got great talent now, both in pharma and biotech, as well as in the CROs. And in the CROs today, the CROs are not being looked at just as an extra set of hands, but also as a partner, which again makes the drug development process for everybody involved more exciting. For us, the way we look at it here is that there are two ways that cultures are evolved in pharma, biotech, or CROs. There are some that is basically pushed down by the management. This is our culture. This is how we behave. This is how we work together, and so on. And then there are cultures that are evolved over time, not because the management is push it or just the company decide this is going to be our culture, but it evolves over time by different type of people, management, individual, analysts, scientists that come into the company. So some are relatively designed and some are not designed. As we go and work with different companies, one of the things that we look for, we want to understand what is the culture of that particular company. There are some companies that are very transactional. They basically look at a CRO as a vendor, it's fee for service, I give you this study, I may bid it out to 3 potential CROs, whoever comes up, and with the elements that is of interest to me, I'm gonna go with them. And there's some other pharma and biotechs that are looking for true partnership. We work with both types, but what we like, for us, we look for true partnership. In terms of we want to understand what is it they want, what is the solution that we can provide, and we want to set up that partnership at every level. In order for the partnership to be successful, it has to be put together at the analysts, scientists, project managers, directors, all the way to the senior level executive to make sure that on both sides we are aligned to make the project a success. So again, we look for a true partnership, but as a CRO, we work with multiple companies, multiple culture, multiple personalities. Depending on what report you look at, they may give you a different number as the percent growth in a CRO world or the percent outsourcing. But there is one thing that they have all in common is that there will be an increase in an outsourcing model. The companies have seen it for the past decade that they can dedicate their scientists to the drug development and let's use the CROs for running the clinical trial, the animal studies, and the bioanalytical work or the analytical work. And that has worked well for the pharma and biotech as well as the CROs. In terms of where it's headed, so it's upward. It's going to continue going up for the trend for outsourcing. The challenge is actually maybe somewhat in common for the pharma, biotech, and the CROs. We're all looking for good talent. The universities are not necessarily developing scientists to come and say, you are going to be trained in doing PK assay, biomarker, immunogenicity, or cell-based. Today's scientist is an analytical chemist, is maybe a biochemist, got to know some enzymology, got to know molecular biology. And if you're in a CRO, you also got to be able to deal with different personalities, different folks. So you got to sort of be a psychologist. And also if you're in a management, you got to know how to deal with managing your own team as well as managing the relationship externally. That is not something that can be trained overnight. So there's definitely a competition to get the individuals that have that level of knowledge currently. The reality here is there's not enough qualified people out there. So at least I can tell you in BioAgilytix, we have gone beyond the 2 weeks or 4 weeks of read the SOPs and this is our culture and this is the service we offer, this is how you do a PK development. We have actually initiated a concept which is called BioAgilytix University, which is like a continuing education for our employees. The regulatory requirements around the world are changing. We are living in a global environment, right? Our scientists gotta understand that if I want to develop this assay, it's for a PK, it is for submission to this part of the world. We gotta make sure that all the elements are put in place for a successful submission. So again, the biggest challenge over the next 10 years or beyond that, to me, is finding the right people, training the right people, and retaining your talent. We live in a world that everybody wants to cut costs. Everybody wants to get more for less. It got to be a balancing act. I'm not going to dispute and say that having LIMS system or the automation or a lot of things that you hear in the market today that will help us cut costs is not the way to go. All of that is solid. All of that is valid. But I think the one thing that is missing quite a bit is the fact that, at least I speak for the CROs, our IP are our people. We are not a drug company that we say we have so many drugs in the pipeline and so many drugs are in the market. So if we go with a concept that our most valuable possession as a CRO are our people, the way I look at it is if you can come up with a system and process to recruit and find the best people, train the best people, make sure you retain them so they can in effect maintain the culture and continue recruiting and training the next group and next generation of the folks, that is one of the most cost-effective way to grow the company